Hey guys, we're going to be taking our digested DNA that we purified from the agarose gel, and we're going to be setting up a ligation. So we have a part, a small fragment, and then we have two versions of a vector, and we're just going to set up two different ligations in different tubes. So I eluted my digestions in 15 microliters, and you can kind of adjust the elution volume based on how many ligations you have to do. I only have to do two. So I always elute in a slightly larger volume, and we're going to be doing 10 microliter ligations, and since we only have two, we don't have to make a master mix, but you can imagine that you could make a master mix if you want, if you had like 10 ligations to do. So what I do is I just take 4.3 microliters of each fragment, so we have our part and our vector, so we're going to do 4.3, 4.3, and then again 4.3 and 4.3, 1 microliter of our buffer, and then half a microliter of our ligase. So we're going to adjust our P20 to 4.3 microliters. And so the reason I use 4.3 in a larger elution volume is so you don't have to deal with water. It's just one less pipetting step, which can be kind of a headache. So I'm actually going to mix this all in the tops, the caps of these small tubes. Oh, one other note. When you do your ligations, you're either going to want to do them in this type of a tube, a small tube, or in a Petri strip, because we have, at least in this lab, these are the sizes that will fit into a 42-degree heat block for a heat shock transformation. So back to the actual ligation, I'm going to take 4.3 microliters of my part and put it into each tube. So 4.3 and 4.3. Going to eject my tip, fresh tip. 4.3 of vector 1. We put our part in here, now we're adding our vector. And we're going to take our other vector and mix it in with our part. So now we have both the part and the vector mixed into our tubes. And these things are probably sloshing around. The sticky ends maybe will bump into each other every now and again, but they're not really going to stick together because they've been cut. So we add in our buffer to prep this solution for the actual ligation. So this always has to be kept at -20, so in the freezer. And you're going to notice at the bottom there's this kind of white gunk. Don't worry about that, that's okay. You just vortex it a little bit, it'll disappear. There was a little bit more, but I vortexed it before we started filming, so it's alright. So I'm going to pull out 1 microliter and put it into that mixture. Double checking my pipette tip to make sure that I am getting all of the fluid out. So 1 microliter, 1 microliter. And normally I'll just put this straight back in the fridge, or actually I guess we'll go ahead and do that right now. We'll ditch this, and it goes in the freezer, not the fridge. I think I just said fridge by mistake, I meant freezer. And now we're going to get our ligase buffer. So we have homebrew ligase, we purified it here, so don't be shy about using too much, but obviously don't drink it or anything. So we're going to be using half a microliter of ligase, so 0.5. Now, a lot of people will tell you to use the P2. I'm using the P20. It's probably less accurate, but the full eject volume on the P2 is insufficient to me, so that's why I use the P20. And also you can kind of gauge how much enzyme you actually have in the tip, and if you have too little, you can change that. So that's about a half a microliter. You probably, can you see that right there? I don't know if you can see that. Okay. Yeah, well, I guess not. And then half a microliter into the top, and then double checking. Okay, it's all gone. And then another half microliter. Back on ice, and then you're going to cap, and you're going to want to slam it down, and then you're going to want to mix it really well. You're just going to want to flick it and make sure that the ligase gets mixed up with all of the DNA. Again, all the enzymes usually have glycerol storage conditions, and you want to make sure that glycerol gets mixed up really well with the DNA. If it does not, then the glycerol, the enzyme, won't be able to do its magic on the DNA. Your reaction won't really run to completion, and you're just wasting your time. So definitely mix it up really well, spin it down, and then this will ligate for the next 30 minutes at room temperature. So we'll just set this here, get a timer, press start, set it next to it, and then after this we can go straight into a transformation. So quick recap, we had our pre-digested DNA, we had a part, we had our vectors, and we just took 4.3 microliters of each, of the part and the vector to give us 8.6. Then we added 1 microliter of ligase buffer, half a microliter of the actual ligase, mixed it up really well, we always wanted to use this size tube or the Petri strip. We're going to let it just sit at room temperature 30 minutes. The other way of doing this is 16 hours, 16 degrees. That's actually the real method, but that takes forever. And this seems to work if you're just doing standard routine assembly. The reason you would use the other one is it's much more high efficiency. If you're trying to do a library, you're probably going to want to do the 16 degrees, 16 hour method. So we're good here, and we'll be back for the transformation.